Alright guys, here we are, Monday morning, July 24th, 2023. I'm about to drive on over to my fave sweet spot, 8:44 a.m. Hoping to get some breakfast deliveries. This isn't the best time of day to be actually trying to get deliveries, to be honest. It's early. Nobody really orders food in this area this time of day. Oh my god. I hate this app, man. It's always got something. It's always trying to tell me something that I need to update, some kind of paperwork or some BS. Let me see. Is it going to say unable to go online? Why is it go offline? Okay, this app is crazy. I'm going to just go to the parking spot and do some podcasting at the least. I'm waiting for somebody to turn around. People come down our street. It's a dead end. And people come down our street and then they end up getting kind of trapped. Oh my god. There's always people walking everywhere. Wow, these brakes do not sound good. So yeah. Alright. Let's back it up. Ooh. The brakes sound worse than the steering. The steering's an issue though, but the brakes sound terrible. Wow. So I don't know. I'll see if anything changes with the app once I go to the spot. I want to start early and just get it over with. I'm tired and I didn't sleep good. I'm trying to develop some topics for pods. I don't quite know, like what. But yeah, I'm just trying to see what my options are looking like. I don't know exactly where I'm going. I didn't really plan this out, but yeah, I'm gonna go down to this parking lot close to me where there's usually some shaded areas to hang in, so I want to go do that. But I don't know, guys, how are you guys doing? I don't really feel like making a whole negative episode. I don't think it's going to be negative. It's a hopeful Monday. So let's talk about health, guys. How are you guys with your health? How's your health? How's all your health? Not just your physical health. How's all of it? How's your mental health? How's your physical health? How's your joy? How's your relationships? How are your finances? Alright, I found a spot in some shade here. It's a big building. So yeah. Let's sit here and record about balance, lifestyle balance. Now, I don't know why. Let me see if it's gonna keep telling me I can't go online. I think I'm online at least. So I don't know. I don't know, guys. I think I'm online. But yeah. I want to see what people think, like, how do you guys feel about your health? How do you guys feel about, how things have been going in your lives? Are you happy? Do you have people around you that build you up? People around you who, is it ever kind of more complicated? How is it? How are things for you? Excuse me. Yeah, like how have you been kind of feeling, let me see. Like, I'm wondering what people kind of think about, these ideas surrounding lifestyle satisfaction, ideas about, just well-being in general. I think, from the people I've interacted with, one thing I've been noticing is people having complaints about other people and just kind of how they can't really seem to get off of their mind the things that other people are trying to, push onto them, whether it's their anger or their dissatisfaction or their unhappiness or their lack of healthy choices or their neediness and things like that. I've definitely noticed people struggling with outside forces socially. That's what I was saying. I don't want to make this like a negative episode, but of the people I have talked to, I've noticed that that's a thing that comes up. Now, I'm not here to tell people, you shouldn't feel that way, like you shouldn't be mad at them or you shouldn't be displeased with them. I am a big believer that, people should do what they need to do for themselves. A big believer in, if you have a passion and mission for, for helping people, for trying to be, useful in society, wanting to be someone who's not a menace, someone who's not full of themselves, someone who's, compassionate and practices emotional intelligence. A lot of times, unfortunately, what happens is people come up and they might try and, discourage someone, when they see them happy, and it might be subtle, but it's like, sometimes I hear it when I talk to people where they're like, oh, like this person did this or said this or acted that way. And, it makes the person who's talking about their complaint, it makes the person just like, it upsets them, kind of messes up their day, messes up their energy. And, what I find is a lot of times those people who act those ways, they're trying to get a rise out of other people. Maybe it's not even conscious all the time, but they're definitely trying to, in some ways, be heard or just take out their energy. It's almost like, have you ever had like a pet that just loves to go outside, like a dog or even like a child, like some being that's not very inhibited yet, and, they're not old and they're full of energy, full of just like, wanting to kind of expend their energy, and you can kind of tell when they've got like some pent up energy, and they're kind of, they might get irritable or just like restless and they can't sit still, and they're with dogs, they're scratching, they're pacing around, they're like doing all kinds of behaviors. They're not just chilling. Same with kids, they'll be just like talkative sometimes, or which is fine, or they'll, come up and try to like, just like get attention from an adult, and they'll try to, get somebody to, kind of, tap into what they're feeling, or get someone to try to, just somebody to try to, pick up on their energy. And so they'll do this. They'll get up and they'll, like, you can see it when you like open the door and you kind of let them run out in the backyard, or you open the door to the car and let them run out to the park, and they just like get out and they run to the slide, or they get out and start just like dogs, they'll get out and like sprint around and start barking and just running and darting from place to place. It's almost like that same kind of energy that people have, when they've got this like pent up like negative energy, and they might not even notice it themselves. But, it's like, it's almost like when they see a person, that's almost like opening a door. And then they see a person and they just like unleash all this stuff. And it's just like, wow, like that is not really how the other person expected for that interaction to go. I mean, sometimes some people are just so consistently negative that it just becomes that. But other times, it can be a little bit shocking, and like, especially if you don't know somebody too well, or if they're kind of like hit or miss. Like, sometimes their mood is like great, sometimes their mood is kind of off. But you'll notice this, that people have this energy in them sometimes, and they might not even notice it, but you'll notice it when you're interacting with them. And so that's kind of how I try to look at it, is like, okay, this person's got all this pent up crap going on inside of them that they're just unleashing all of a sudden, whatever that may be. I'm the person that is just there, wrong place at the wrong time, interacting with the wrong person, And, you don't have to deal with people like that. Like, some people would say, oh, like, the nice, compassionate thing is to kind of let them, like, bulldoze. But, you're not obligated to that. I don't really believe in that theory of living life to allow other people to just do whatever they want if it's, like, against your own best interest. I'm all about people, going for whatever their best interest is, as long as they're staying in their own lane and they're not disrupting other people in the process. you know um, I don't think that they're doing anything wrong. And so I would say, if somebody's dealing with negative people, um then usually one of the better routes to take can be, just noticing what's happening. You don't have to engage with it. Usually, if I do end up, taking the bait and engaging with it, I try, you know, in ways to let the person know that what they're doing is not okay. Um, I might not say it in so many words, but usually the way that I address it is, I'm doing what's best for myself. And, if people don't want to respect those boundaries, or if they want to be upset with me setting the boundaries for myself, and, if that's what they want to focus on and express to me that they are having some negative uh, ideas about how I choose to live my life when I'm not intentionally trying to do anything against them. They're just kind of butthurt about it, and you know, usually what I would tell them is just that. It's like, I'm doing what I need to do for myself. I'm responsible for me. Are you gonna take care of me? No. So I'm doing what I think is the best plan for myself. And I also don't tend to associate with people who don't want me to do what's best for myself. And I don't associate with people who try and guilt trip me into trying to do things that I prefer, trying to do things that, are against what I prefer to do for myself. I just don't engage. I don't engage with that type of behavior, and, a lot of times they're going to try to argue. They want to argue because they want their way. A lot of times that's very, very likely. They're going to want their way, and they're not going to really hear, and they're not going to want to understand, and they're going to act like they don't understand, like they don't hear, like they can't begin to understand what you're saying because they're so stuck in what they need, because they basically have needs that aren't being met. And that's what's happening, is they have some kind of need that's not being met. Almost just like a kid that's got too much energy and their need to release that energy is not getting met. Or a pet that has so much energy that they can't really expend until their owner makes space available for them to properly be running all over the place. These people, they're not setting it up for themselves. They're not setting up for themselves a method or a place or an environment where they can actually kind of get what they need. They're not getting what they need. They're not trying to get what they need, or even to pay attention to what they can do for themselves. They're trying to just unload that on other people. And so, you know, I would say if someone socially has some issues that they're dealing with people who are like that, usually that's going to be the first takeaway is kind of, don't engage with it, don't engage with it, the second they start, especially if it's a pattern, the second they start with their negativity, you gotta just kind of nip it. And if they can't hear what you're saying in real time when you're trying to like express what you need and what you're gonna do for yourself, and if they continue to be disrespectful, you can just leave. I mean, you don't have to stay and wait and argue and try to like explain yourself and go back and forth and back and forth, because sometimes they're not listening. Needy people, they're gonna try and overwhelm you. Negative people, they're gonna just try and put you down about all kinds of negative stuff that they can find because they want to get a rise out of you, but they're feeling negative and they don't know how to do what they need for themselves, or they're not focused on doing what they need for themselves, but instead they're just trying to focus on, on themselves, pretty much releasing that energy. And for people who are having trouble with finances, I feel like, I don't know if there's really a short-term fix to financial, needs. Like if you need finances to get kind of repaired, I don't really know if there's like a realistic method of really trying to figure that out, There's some ways I would describe it. For someone who might have like financial types of needs, for someone who might have those financial types of needs, I would say, not always, but sometimes it's a long game. A long game of trying to kind of trying to figure things out over time. Now, I'm not into shaming and blaming people when it comes to finances, but I've been there. I've been in the deep struggle that is debt and needing money, or not having enough energy to make the money. Whatever category a person is falling into. Oh geez, I can't go this way. There's trucks. Whatever category a person finds themselves falling into with those types of things, I would say one of the harder things to do is to make immediate decisions. Now, for people who need money immediately, I mean, if you're an adult, if you have a car that's registered, you have a driver's license, and you can wait maybe a couple days, and you have car insurance and proof of it, and you can just get a car ready to do like Uber Eats or something along those lines. That's probably the fastest way you can start earning money on a regular basis. Now, there is an expense to it, so if you're like dead broke and can't even afford gas, or can't afford like the 2 or 3 days it takes to wait for the approval. Now, Uber Eats is different from Uber, rides. So if you're doing something like Uber Eats is pretty flexible. It's pretty, how do you say, it's kind of hard to explain, guys. It's flexible. It's oh my gosh. It's flexible, and it's it works out, but it's not immediate. Like, you do have to do a couple steps before you can start. You can't start like same day most times. It might take 2 days or so, maybe 3 days or so. You will run into little roadblocks, like people who, like, for me, they keep wanting me to upload my picture, or whenever your insurance is coming due, they want you to upload new proof of insurance, or there's little things like that you'll find where they just keep, like, it's like, okay, like, some days you're like, oh no, am I gonna have to wait to actually, like, go earn? Like, you don't really know. Something more immediate, pawn shops. I mean, a lot of times people hate to give away their stuff, but a pawn shop in a lot of ways can really be a helpful thing. Most people have things that are worth some kind of money, and you don't have to really pawn it to sell it. Like, you can pawn it just for the cash. Most types of electronics that aren't cell phones, you can pawn them. Instruments, you can pawn them. You might not get a whole lot of money. You might get like $40 or something, but I would usually say you probably will end up with about 10% money of what your item is worth. So if you brought in like a guitar or something that's worth like $400, they might offer you somewhere between $40 to $60, because they have to make a pretty big profit. They have to think about, they're storing inventory, processing fees, all this kind of stuff. They have overhead, so they want to make a profit. So if they're going to resell your thing that's worth $400 because it's used, maybe you bought it for $400, but now it's used, right? So it's no longer worth $400 the second you buy it, and then to you it might have sentimental value, so it might be worth more money. So it can be hard, but I mean, like, at least pawning, you have the chance to get it back. But pawning is a form of debt. So if you don't actually sell it to a pawn shop, and usually you can pawn it for more than you can sell it. Usually they'll give you $5 or $10 less, or $20 or so less for between pawning and selling. They'll usually offer you more money to pawn, because they make a profit off of you coming back to get your item. Like, you have to pay more money than you paid, and it's almost a guarantee that you're going to come back and get it. And if you don't come back and get it, that's fine. They'll just have ability to sell your stuff. And so they can post it online. A lot of these places might do that for hot ticket items. But yeah, if you're willing to part with stuff and you actually do have stuff, not everybody has stuff. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, every single person has stuff that they can just get rid of. Because I know there are really people out there that actually might not own a lot of things. But there are people out there, I'd say most people own stuff. It's just, do they want to get rid of it? Do they want to get rid of the stuff that they own and sell it and not pawn it? But do they want to sell it? Because selling it is money straight back in your pocket. So if you pawn, say, a guitar, that's an easy thing to talk about. If you pawn a guitar that you bought for $400, let's call it worth $300, they'll usually take the least amount of money that they could sell it for. So they'll probably search eBay and other places where people are reselling similar items and find the lowest one that's in a decent condition compared to your condition of item. And they'll say, okay, your item is worth, if your $300 worth guitar is selling for $200 somewhere else, they might try to sell it for $160, meaning they're not going to offer you $160 even. They might offer you like, I mean, I think $120 would be generous, because usually these places aren't going to offer you a whole lot of money for something. If it's worth $300 selling somewhere for $200, they're probably not going to offer you $120. They usually want a much bigger profit than that. So those are things to keep in mind. But if you're just willing to just get rid of stuff, and you have stuff to get rid of, and you're willing to part, if you become willing to part with items, you will be able to more easily get a better financial footing, because what it usually takes is, you know, an amount of sacrifice that most people aren't willing to have, you know. Nobody wants to get rid of stuff that they love. You know, nobody wants to, you know, go through, you know, it can be an embarrassing process to deal with freaking, you know, that kind of situation. Like, it's not ideal. Nobody likes going into, like, ask for loans or that kind of thing. Like, I wouldn't say that's a method out of debt. That's actually a method of creating more debt for yourself. But I mean, if you just need immediate money lenders right now are going nuts, and they're lending to just about anybody, unless you've overdone it with, you know, trying to get offers. But you know, usually you'll be able to find something if your credit's decent and you haven't like overdone it for too much for too long. Alright, I need to turn around. I'm now officially going the wrong direction. But yeah, guys, that's kind of one of the early things I would say is, you know, it's not, it's not always easy. It's not always going to be easy, guys. I know it's not going to be easy. And, you know, I'm not here to, like, blame people. But, you know, because I've been in those situations where I've been like, dang, man, maybe, you know, I shouldn't have spent that extra money. Or I didn't, you know, sometimes I'm like, I just don't want to look at my bank. I don't want to look at my bank. Let's just see what happens. You know, I just want to not think about it for a while. I'll deal with the problems later. And one issue when you get good at having that kind of attitude of like, I'll just make up the money. Once you get that kind of attitude and you start becoming successful with that kind of attitude and practice, that makes life a little harder on those ends. The reason why it makes it harder is because you start knowing that you can do that. You start realizing, hey, every time I get into a tough spot, I can just easily do this or that, or do that or this, and get the money. And like, it can be stressful, but sometimes, you know, as humans, our brains kind of need that like little kick. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've done it to myself. I've opened up a new line of credit just because I needed some motivation to kind of like get rolling, work more, put in some hours, you know. I needed that motivation for myself. because I noticed myself getting low and down and depressed and kind of unmotivated and just kind of, not really having a fire lit under me. But the second I saw, oh, my credit score is going down a little bit because I opened a new line and now I have this payment coming up, so I better make it on time. I better make my first payment on time. Now I gotta work extra to go get that payment, taken care of on time. And, and in a way, it's kind of like the way I rationalized it. And it's just, don't listen to me, guys. Like, I'm not a financial advisor by any means. I'm talking about when you're in a low place, you make stupid decisions sometimes. And I'm going to admit to some of those stupid decisions. But it was one of those stupid decisions that I was like, I know how to motivate myself. I'm motivated by seeing small incremental successes. And so if I see that, okay, if I drive Uber Eats this day and I make this much money for this many orders, and I do this and I do that, and then by this amount of time, I'll be able to, complete the task at hand, versus sitting there with nothing kind of like driving me to kind of make money. Because the thing is, I know myself, I'll make more money than what that minimum payment is worth, is due. I'll make more money, and in the end of the whole situation, I will have raised my credit past whatever it dipped when I opened a new line of credit. But it's a long game. That's a long game, right? It's a long, stupid game that I've played, but it's a long game. And it's like, I told myself, okay, well, at the very least, out of this depression and out of this negative emotion and out of this low motivation period of time, at the very least, after all of it, I did some good work. I, gained some new skills. I hustled, and I ended up making extra cash and making extra just doing a lot of good extra stuff. So I would notice that, I would notice that, like, hey, this is helping me. In some way it's helping me, not fully, but in some way it is. And I'd say between social and financial, that's usually two of the most complicated things that most people have to deal with on a regular basis. So, yeah. Well, I'm going to stop recording because my phone's dying. I'm under 20% now, so I gotta go. But with that, thanks for listening.